So the leaks for Boruto 2 Blue Vortex chapter 33 have just been released. And this chapter is absolutely peak, because what we are starting to see here is us supposedly coming to the conclusion of this arc. I don't know if it's 100% confirmed yet that this is the conclusion, because the way it's looking like, I don't really feel like it is over. I feel like something big could potentially be happening in the chapters to come, but it is looking like at least we are wrapping up a fight. Because starting off with the cover that we received for this chapter, the cover is Sarada, and Sarada absolutely looks elegant in this cover. This is probably one of my favorite Sarada covers. I really like the way Sarada looks in this. Maybe in this next upcoming arc that we get in the future, Sarada may potentially get an update to her design, which is something that I would love to see. Maybe her hair starts to grow out a little bit more, as we are seeing a bit in this cover, and I really like what it looks like. But we start off right where we left off, with a Sarada who is bleeding, and we have a bunch of the Mamushi clones that keep on increasing. We see that we have a Kawaki who is telling Himawari that he has basically run out of gas, and Sumire is concerned about what exactly has happened to Sarada. Just like a lot of people predicted, Himawari is definitely going to be extremely useful, due to the simple fact that we have seen in the past that she can use her Nine-Tailed abilities to heal other people. And that's exactly what she ends up doing in this chapter, as she attempts to heal Sarada. We don't know exactly if Sarada is out of danger, but she does still appear to be breathing and alive. But is her eye completely cooked? Is she gonna deal with other problems in the future? I can't necessarily say that, because we don't really know based off this chapter, as Himawari doesn't know either. What we do end up seeing is that Mamushi is basically laughing. Mamushi is laughing at everything that is going on, while we have Damon who is edging him to come near him so that Damon can start fighting the majority of the Mamushi clones. And this is what we see take place. The Mamushi clones start to charge Damon. And then we end up going back to Inojin and Kashin Koji, who are having a conversation, where Inojin is quite concerned at everything that is taking place, and is asking Kashin Koji how much he knows about the future, where Kashin Koji then replies that he had an update 4 days ago, where he ended up telling Inojin about his ability. However, he cannot directly control when he ends up getting these updates, so he just has to wait for them to take place. And Amato can clearly hear this conversation. We have Amato who says the 10 paths, the ability to see the future. So there is such a thing, which is kind of interesting, because it means that Amato could have potential information about said ability, maybe one of the abilities that he knows about. And that's going to be very intriguing, due to the simple fact that we now have the confirmation from Amato in this sense that yes, Kashin Koji is still alive, and he has acquired a Senjutsu. So maybe it may allow Amato to start to understand what is the requirements necessary for the Kara inners that were given some of Shiba Otsutsuki's DNA to end up awakening various sorts of Shinjutsu, which is important when it comes to Delta, as Delta was also given a Shinjutsu in the past, and I'm quite curious to see what that Shinjutsu will end up being. But what we see next is Damien, who ends up charging and fighting the Mamushi clones. We see him blasting when the Mamushi clones head away, and a lot of them start to swarm Ida. And at this point, I'm not even gonna lie, I thought Ida was gonna get taken out of the story. I thought she was gonna get devoured. However, Boruto comes in clutch and sweeps the majority of the Mamushi clones away, where Ada, who is in complete disgust, is kind of paralyzed. And something that is quite intriguing, and I don't think we'll get to see it, is that Ida doesn't appear to be fighting at all in this chapter. And I wish I could have seen Ida do something, maybe a potential fight. The only real fighting thing that we have seen from Ida ever is when she threw a hit supposedly at Delta, and then Delta, due to the fact that Ida had her charm ability, she couldn't really do much of anything, and thus was affected by the ability. But apart from that, we really haven't seen Ada fight, and I thought maybe we were going to see that. But we just keep on seeing how broken of a character Damien is, where Damien ends up blasting off the majority of the Mamushi clone's head. We see Mitsuki also start to step in, who is helping out Damien. But we do end up seeing that Damon seems to be running out of stamina. The reflection ability seems to slowly start to take its toll on him. And this makes quite a bit of sense, due to the simple fact that we do know that these various abilities, these senjutsu, does take quite a bit of chakra. In the past, we saw characters like Kawaki. When using the Sukuna Hikonen, he did say that he was running out of chakra due to the large amount of chakra that it ended up consuming. And for an ability that is so broken and that Damon is using multiple times on thousands of different Mamushi clones, it has definitely started to take a toll on Damon. But we see that Boruto and Delta also start to join in, assisting and making sure that Ada doesn't end up getting devoured. Shikamaru is kind of lost for words due to the plan not working out and is asking Boruto exactly what can be done, what should they do in this situation. But now we end up going back to Kashin Koji and Inojin, where Kashin Koji tells Inojin that he originally learned the mind-body transfer jutsu after multiple villagers lost their life in the fight versus Mamushi. That's why the future is so different right now, because Inojin has learned this ability. So although things are going wrong from Kashin Koji's perspective, Inojin should still feel a little bit good, as of right now, Ada and Himawari are still alive, and we have an Inojin who has mastered this ability. So far it is not too bad. But Inojin is like, yo, it doesn't matter if the future has changed in a way if it still ends up resulting in them losing. Where we then end up having Inojin who is starting to yell at Kashin Koji, trying to figure out what exactly he can do. And before we continue, we definitely have to applaud Inojin. Inojin is a character that I honestly respect, and the route that Ikimoto has taken with Inojin, like, think about this, 10 chapters ago, would you tell me that Inojin would be a character that you would respect? I didn't care about Inojin, I didn't care about what he was going to do, and when I first saw him, I was like, yo, they're kind of wasting panels on Inojin, I'm not trying to see that. But kudos to Ikimoto, kudos to Inojin, he is actually a respectable guy, as he really wants to figure out what exactly he can do. Although he has already done so much, he wants to keep going, and he really is the MVP of this arc, as you will come to slowly find out. But we have an Inojin who starts to think back of what Amato said, this fact of the Mamushi clones having a single collective consciousness. And then Kashin Koji looks at him knowingly, knowing that there is a future that Inojin can come in clutch. But Inojin finally puts things together, as he realizes that his ability is the direct weakness of the Mamushi clones, as Inojin knows that what he has to do is go and use the mind transferring jutsu. Since the Mamushi clones are sharing this one individual consciousness, if he uses the mind transferring jutsu, he would be able to take control of all the Mamushi clones. So Inojin doesn't even worry about the potential drawbacks, the potential repercussions of his actions. He is ready. He doesn't need any other explanation, and he is resolved to destroy all of the Mamushi clones with this new jutsu. Now we end up going back to the battlefield, where Ada ends up flying away from the majority of the Mamushi clones. But obviously they are a little bit faster, and slowly and maturely they are catching up. Then we have a Boruto who is helping her out, as he is flying towards her, trying to defeat the majority of the Mamushi clones as they are closing their distance. We then see that Inojin stops his jutsu, which means that no information is being relayed. Shikamaru is definitely caught off guard, but then we have Kashin Koji using his toads that ends up sharing exactly what is happening in the battlefield to Shikamaru. Then we have a Kashin Koji who ends up using the reverse summoning jutsu to bring Inojin to the battlefield. And it is at that point that Inojin actually pops through. Yeah, Inojin has a lot of aura, I'm gonna give it to him. There's no, like, clowning Inojin is no longer acceptable. That's what I'm gonna say from now on. Clowning Inojin, he deserves Himawari. Like, I hope everything goes right when it comes to Himawari, but you'll understand in a second. But Inojin ends up making his way to the battlefield, and he instructs Shikadai to end up using his abilities to stop at least one of the Mamushi clones. And that's exactly what Shikadai ends up doing, and he ends up stopping one of the Mamushi clones, and we have Inojin who ends up using his mind transferring jutsu. And Inojin uses the mind transferring jutsu and is now in control of one of the Mamushi clones. But not just one, he actually is in control of all of the Mamushi clones as his body falls to the ground. And it's at that moment that we see that all of them end up falling to the ground. They stop in their tracks, as they are all now in the control of Inojin. We see Shikadai see what is going on, but he doesn't necessarily understand the plan. And that's where we have Kawaki who's like, yeah, Amato was right. And we have Sumire who confirms everything that is happening. And Amato theorizes that Inojin didn't just take over one clone, but all of them. And this is confirmed by what they see take place, as all of the Mamushi clones are standing up and not moving, all uniform, all under the control of Inojin. We then end up seeing Inojin end up yelling something at Damon, but it is incoherent due to the intelligence that the Mamushi clones have at that certain stage. But what is being transferred through Inojin and his mind is the fact that he's going to destroy all of their eyes. But one thing that we have to remember is that anything that is done to the person who Inojin takes control of, it is also done to him. But Inojin, without hesitating, he ends up destroying the Mamushi clone's eyes. And then we see that the same thing happens to Inojin himself. But the brilliant idea, the brilliant part of this plan is the simple fact that this affects not just that Mamushi clone, but all of the Mamushi clones in the surrounding area, while also dealing a blow to his own body. So Inojin single-handedly ends up taking down all of the Mamushi clones by destroying their eyes. And he does it by risking his own vision, risking his own eyes to protect Himawari, to protect Konoha. This is truly what a ninja would do. Inojin has fully garnered my respect, and seeing what is being done with his character, he is the MVP of this arc, no questions needed, no doubts about it, because what he ends up doing is absolutely phenomenal. We have Himawari who is trying to help him out, and she is healing his eyes. I just remember when Inojin died and people said that they should have just killed him. I think everybody owes Inojin an apology, and I'll be the first one to apologize. I didn't mess with what you said that you were messing with Himawari, you feel me? But now with everything that I'm seeing take place, with the resolve that Inojin has shown, you have joined the family. We accept you now. Inojin is actually too goated. He is the MVP. Like, imagine when this gets animated, it's gonna be so peak. And then we have Boruto, who is standing ominously, waiting for the rest of the debris from the Mamushi clones' dead carcasses to end up forming the torso bulb. And that's what we end up seeing. And we have a Kawaki who is asking Boruto what exactly he's going to do with it. And Boruto basically says that he's going to give it back to Bug. As Bug is not a shinobi, thus he will slowly start to disintegrate due to the simple fact that he doesn't have chakra. But when everything appears to be going right, we see who make an appearance. Code with his eyes. I don't really know how Code been feeling these past few days. Just one arm. But now he appears at the carcass, the tree formation that we see Bug in. He appears there with his claw mark. It's hidden right behind Bug. So when Boruto ends up putting back the torso bulb, he might not be aware of what is happening, as Code is lurking in the shadows. So what exactly will take place? That is where the chapter ends. And that's what makes me feel like this story isn't just over yet. This is what we'll end up figuring out in the next few chapters. But you guys, let me know your thoughts, comments, and concerns in the comment section below. It's been your boy Dynasty, and I'm out, bruh.